Did you know that 90% of our decisions are made subconsciously? That's right. Most of the choices we think we make with reason are actually influenced by hidden triggers we're barely aware of. Understanding these secrets can transform the way you communicate and influence others. Imagine you could unlock the techniques that top salespeople and negotiators use to sway opinions and drive actions. What if you could harness these strategies to get what you want more effectively, whether it's closing a deal, persuading a friend, or even winning an argument? In this video, we're diving into the Art of Persuasion, 12 behavioral analysis techniques for influencing others. We'll explore how to use subtle psychological principles to enhance your ability to persuade. From harnessing the power of reciprocity to creating urgency with scarcity, each chapter will reveal a strategy that taps into the way our minds work. Prepare to discover the science behind why we follow trends, how we can be influenced by social proof, and the surprising effects of framing information. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of powerful techniques to help you become a master of persuasion. Let's unlock these secrets and see how they can work for you. Chapter 1. Unlocking the Human Code. Understanding behavioral triggers. Every decision we make is influenced by subtle triggers, often hidden deep within our subconscious. Understanding these triggers is key to mastering the art of persuasion. Behavioral science tells us that people make decisions emotionally and justify them logically. According to Dr. Robert Cialdini, author of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, understanding these automatic triggers can dramatically increase your persuasive power. For example, did you know that people are more likely to agree with you if they feel you understand them? This is called the empathy trigger. When you genuinely listen to someone and reflect their feelings, you activate this trigger, making them more receptive to your ideas. Another fascinating trigger is the loss aversion principle. Research shows that people fear losing something more than they value gaining something of equal worth. By framing your message in a way that highlights potential losses, you can nudge people toward action. For instance, instead of saying, "You could save $100, try saying, "You could lose $100 if you don't act now." The difference in response rates might surprise you. The contrast principle is another powerful tool. Humans naturally compare options to make decisions. By presenting a less attractive option first, the one you want them to choose will seem more appealing. This is why car salespeople often show you the expensive model first. It makes the more reasonably priced one look like a bargain. These are just a few of the many triggers that influence behavior. The key is to understand which ones are at play and how to use them to your advantage. Once you start recognizing these triggers, you'll see them everywhere, from advertisements to everyday conversations. Chapter 2. The Mirror Effect. Harnessing the power of subtle mimicry. Have you ever noticed how people naturally mirror each other's body language during conversations? This subtle mimicry is a powerful tool for building rapport and trust. When done correctly, it can make others feel more comfortable and connected to you, without them even realizing why. The concept of mirroring was first studied by behavioral scientists in the 1970s. They found that when two people have a good connection, they tend to mimic each other's posture, gestures, and even tone of voice. This mirroring creates a sense of harmony and mutual understanding, which is crucial in persuasion. One interesting fact is that mirroring doesn't just work on a conscious level, it also affects us subconsciously. Studies have shown that people are more likely to say yes to someone who mirrors their behavior. For instance, if your conversation partner leans forward, try doing the same. If they cross their legs, subtly follow suit. The key is to keep it natural. If it's too obvious, it can come off as insincere. But mirroring isn't just about body language. It also works with words and phrases. Repeating key words or phrases that the other person uses can make them feel understood and appreciated. This technique is often used in negotiations to show that you're on the same page. The best part about mirroring is that it's something you can start doing right away. Next time you're in a conversation, pay attention to the other person's body language and words. Try to subtly match them and see how it affects the interaction. You might be surprised at how much more connected the other person feels to you. Chapter 3. The echo chamber, amplifying agreement through strategic repetition. Repetition is a classic technique in persuasion, but it's more powerful than most people realize. There's a reason why advertisers use the same slogans and jingles over and over again, because it works. The more we hear something, the more likely we are to believe it. This is known as the mere exposure effect, a psychological phenomenon where people tend to develop a preference for things simply because they are familiar with them. This technique is not just for marketing. You can use it in everyday conversations to reinforce your message. For example, if you're trying to persuade someone, don't just state your point once. Find ways to subtly repeat it throughout the conversation. This could be through rephrasing, summarizing, or even just reiterating the key points. The goal is to make your message stick in their mind. One interesting study found that people are more likely to agree with a statement if they've heard it multiple times, even if they didn't initially believe it. This is because repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity often leads to acceptance. But be careful not to overdo it. Too much repetition can come across as annoying or pushy, which could have the opposite effect. A great example of strategic repetition comes from politics. Politicians often repeat key messages throughout their campaigns, ensuring that these ideas are deeply ingrained in the public's mind. This repetition helps to create a sense of inevitability and acceptance around their message. In your own conversations, try repeating your key points at different stages. Mention them at the beginning, then again in the middle, and finally reinforce them at the end. This will help ensure that your message is not only heard but remembered. Chapter 4. Anchoring emotions. Setting the stage with emotional cues. Emotions are at the heart of every decision we make. Research shows that people are more likely to be influenced when their emotions are engaged. This is where the technique of emotional anchoring comes into play. By linking your message to strong emotions, you can make it more persuasive and memorable. One fascinating study found that people are more likely to remember information that is tied to emotional experiences. For example, if you want someone to remember a statistic, try linking it to a personal story that evokes emotion. This could be a story about overcoming a challenge, achieving a goal, or experiencing a loss. Emotional anchoring is also about setting the right emotional tone at the start of a conversation. If you can make someone feel positive, they're more likely to agree with you. This is why many successful speakers start with a joke or a feel-good story. It puts the audience in a positive frame of mind, making them more receptive to the message that follows. Interestingly, the emotions you evoke don't always have to be positive. Sometimes creating a sense of urgency or fear can be just as effective. This is often used in fundraising campaigns, where messages highlight the dire consequences of inaction to spur donations. The key is to choose the emotion that best fits your message and audience. Next time you need to persuade someone, think about the emotions you want to evoke. Whether it's hope, fear, joy, or sadness, find a way to anchor your message to that emotion. This will make your message more powerful and more likely to influence the person's behavior. Chapter 5. The Reciprocity Trap. The Science of Giving to Receive. Reciprocity is a powerful tool in persuasion. When someone gives us something, we feel compelled to return the favor. This instinct is so ingrained in us that it can be leveraged to influence decisions. Dr. Robert Cialdini, a leading expert in persuasion, describes reciprocity as one of the most reliable weapons of influence in his research. A simple example of this is when a friend buys you coffee. Even if you didn't ask for it, you're likely to offer to pay for the next one. This principle is often used in marketing. Ever wonder why so many companies offer free samples? It's not just generosity. They know that by giving you something for free, you're more likely to feel obligated to purchase from them later. One interesting statistic comes from a study on fundraising. Researchers found that when a charity sends a small gift, like address labels, along with a donation request, people are significantly more likely to donate. The sense of obligation created by the gift triggers the reciprocity instinct, making people more likely to give. But reciprocity doesn't always have to involve tangible gifts. Sometimes giving your time, attention, or even a compliment can trigger the same response. If you start a conversation by offering something of value, like useful advice or a kind word, the other person will naturally want to reciprocate. In negotiations, this tactic is particularly effective. If you concede a minor point early on, the other party may feel compelled to reciprocate by agreeing to a more important term later. The key is to give first, creating a sense of obligation that works in your favor. Chapter 6. Framing reality. Shaping perceptions with contextual cues. Framing is one of the most subtle yet powerful techniques in persuasion. It's all about how you present your information. The same fact, presented differently, can lead to completely different reactions. Nobel Prize-winning psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky have shown how the way information is framed can drastically affect decisions. For instance, imagine you're choosing between two products. One is labeled as 75% lean, while the other is 25% fat. Even though they're the same, the way the information is framed makes one option seem more appealing. This is the essence of framing, highlighting certain aspects of information to influence perceptions. A classic example of framing in action is in health communications. Research shows that people are more likely to take preventative health measures when the benefits are framed positively. For example, stating 90% chance of survival is more effective than 10% chance of death, even though the statistics are the same. In negotiations, framing can be used to make your offers more attractive. By framing your proposal as a win-win situation, you can make it seem like a more favorable outcome for both parties, even if the actual terms remain the same. The key to effective framing is understanding your audience and what aspects of the information will resonate with them. By carefully choosing how you present your message, you can shape perceptions and guide decisions in your favor. Chapter 7. Scarcity. The urgency principle that drives action. Scarcity is a powerful motivator. When people perceive something as limited or in short supply, they are more likely to act quickly to secure it. This principle is rooted in the basic human fear of missing out, FOMO. Research shows that scarcity can significantly increase the perceived value of an item or opportunity. A well-known example of this principle is the limited time offer. Retailers often use this tactic to create a sense of urgency, pushing customers to make a purchase before the deal expires. According to a study by the Harvard Business Review, items labeled as limited edition or only a few left can see up to a 30% increase in sales. Scarcity also plays a role in our decision-making processes. When people are faced with limited choices, they tend to make decisions more quickly. This is why many successful sales strategies involve creating a sense of urgency, whether through limited stock, special promotions, or exclusive access. In personal interactions, you can use scarcity to make your offers more appealing. For example, if you're negotiating a deal, mention that the opportunity is only available for a short time. This can prompt the other person to act faster rather than procrastinate. The principle of scarcity works because it taps into our innate fear of missing out. By creating a sense of urgency, you can drive people to make decisions that might otherwise take more time or contemplation. Subscribe to stay in the loop, and let's get back to exploring. Chapter 8. Social proof magic. The influence of the crowd. Social proof is a psychological phenomenon where people look to others' actions to guide their own decisions. It's a simple concept but incredibly powerful. When we see others doing something, we naturally assume it's the correct behavior, especially in uncertain situations. This is why testimonials, reviews, and even the number of followers or likes on social media can be so influential. A classic study by Solomon Asch in the 1950s showed how people conform to group opinions, even when those opinions are clearly wrong. When participants were placed in a group where others gave incorrect answers to obvious questions, a significant number followed suit, giving the wrong answers just to fit in. This experiment highlighted the powerful role that social proof plays in shaping our choices. In marketing, social proof is everywhere. Think about how often you've seen phrases like bestseller or most popular choice. These labels are designed to make you feel like you're joining a crowd of satisfied customers. And it works. Studies have shown that products labeled as bestsellers can see sales increases of up to 20%. But social proof isn't just for products. It can be used in any situation where you want to influence behavior. For example, if you're trying to convince someone to adopt a new habit, you might mention how many people are already doing it. This creates a bandwagon effect where the fear of missing out, FOMO, drives people to join in. Social proof can also be powerful in negotiations. If you can demonstrate that others in a similar position have agreed to a particular term, the other party is more likely to follow suit. It's a way of showing that your offer is the norm, which can make it more appealing. In your own life, think about how you can use social proof to influence others. Whether it's through sharing testimonials, highlighting popular choices, or simply showing that others are on board, leveraging the power of the crowd can significantly boost your persuasive efforts.